Now let's do the wonderful gameplay. Welcome to Lords of the Fallen, the game about spinning behind shielded enemies because they are ridiculous. It would be too vague to label Lords of the Fallen under action RPG. So many games that get that label ranges so drastically that it doesn't paint a good picture of what it is. I propose that Lords of the Fallen be put under Souls-like, similar to how Rogue Legacy, Risk of Rain and other roguelike games derive their subgenre from the 1980s game Rogue. I want to say now that any Dark Souls references and comparisons aren't to insult the game, but will be used as a healthy reference point for the game. It's not a secret that this game is emulating Dark Souls style and mechanics, but we will see what they changed and if it was for the better. And as a bit of disclosure, I'm a huge fan of Dark Souls, so take that as you will when you listen to this review. I'm also only a small number of hours in the game, so this is a review of my first impressions, so I can't comment on later game details such as story progression or future combat mechanics. Lords of the Fallen has you choose your class at the start. You have a choice between a light character, medium and heavy. These are represented by their armors and weapons. You then have another selection of your prayers, which we'll get to later. These range from Brawling Magic Prayer, Deception Magic Prayer, and Solace Magic Prayer. These are handily represented with a corresponding colour. When things start up, you are greeted with a vague and short cutscene where the protagonist challenges a large beast to a fight. This adds a scale to what you may possibly face in the game and creates a sense of anticipation. The problem I personally had with this is it wasn't made clear if this was a past event or is a future event, and you are working your way to it. This rocked that anticipation slightly. Although it may have been explained in the future, some context would have been nice. From all that I've been exposed to, the story is told in very small increments at a time, seemingly to make you piece things together. Such as when a character points out your tattoos on your face that marks your sin, making you find out that you are a convict. Personally, I don't agree with this type of storytelling for this game. You play as a pre-made character, therefore you shouldn't learn things about yourself through other people, as it should be prior knowledge to yourself. At least small information such as that. This really created a distance between me and who I was controlling, where I was questioning what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, rather than having the synergy of motivation in which I wanted to progress this character through hardships. Maybe this expanded later, but for the period of time I played, you act like a silent character but then seemingly show bits of backstory. Also, in the time I was playing, the story was never even told to me. I actually had to look things up. Something to do with a god that was sealed long ago and has awoken and needs to be stopped. You have been released from prison to do this. None of what I said I knew before Google. Now, this can be a good thing if you're given tasks that coincide with things that is later revealed to be your mission, but the way the characters act, they seemingly know they're on this mission and everyone knows about it, except me. Again, this can be okay if my character didn't know, but he seemingly does. Hell, I don't even know what my character's crime was, but everyone reacts like it was the worst thing ever, yet I don't know it. This really creates a distance between me and the character, making it like I'm simply a puppet master, moving him along with strings and observing how he reacts, rather than experiencing a rich story through someone else's life in another world. To put it simply, it's like walking in a room where some people are halfway through a conversation and you listen in. You don't know what they were talking about previously, but you're now hearing a story about people you don't know or care about. When you start the gameplay, you are introduced to the combat in a quite user-friendly manner. You are given instruction on what buttons to press, and what they do whilst the combat shoots into a slow motion state. This creates a window for you to learn, whilst still keeping up tension as the monster you're fighting is still moving. Although this was short and only covered the very basics of the combat, it still gave a sense of fight or flight, as I quickly had to read what's on screen and perform the task. There was also an option to skip the tutorials every time the window came up, meaning second time playthroughs can be done without unnecessary mandatory tutorials. The buttons are very similar to Dark Souls, so anyone who's played them before will have a good understanding of the basics of the controls. The first area is set up to be a "here's the basics, now learn on your own" stage, where you have to retrieve a key. During this task, you'll bump into various enemies, which is the start of where you see this game differ from Dark Souls. You turn into a dark hallway and see a light enemy. Now in Dark Souls, and really any other action RPG set in these types of settings, light enemies will charge their attacks slightly, giving you time to react, and if you were hit, it'd be your own fault. But here they wing at you with great speed. This shocked me at first, having played Dark Souls, as I was used to being given the opportunity to react to all attacks, and being hit was a direct result of my incompetence. Later, you see some medium-sized enemies. When they attack, they knock you on your ass. This I was more used to. Again, this all shocked me. If you're a Souls fan, it may shock you too, but here's how to get past this. You stop treating this as a Dark Souls game. And let me tell you, once you realise it, it really opens your eyes to how different this game is. I know it sounds a little benign, and the best way to describe it is, I was playing Mario like I was playing Sonic. Although they have similar controls and mechanics, they are entirely different games, and to treat them otherwise makes it near unplayable. This of course won't happen to everyone, especially those new to this type of game, but I thought it was worth sharing as a keynote for how the game handles using the already established mechanics and controls. So, what I found I was doing now was sometimes getting hit on purpose with hits I knew I could take, and returning with bigger blows. I would then avoid or block the heavier hits as they weren't worth trading. But at times you are given the chance to take a good amount of damage, to utilise the opportunity to switch things to your advantage. This is really what sets things apart from Dark Souls. Dark Souls is a game where getting hit is punishment entirely of your own fault. But in Lords of the Fallen, you are given this extra element of combat where being hit isn't incompetence but another chance for strategy. Sadly, after the basic controls are given, you aren't told anything about the more complex commands, such as the kick or jumping attack. As a Souls fan, I knew how to do these right off the bat, but anyone new to this style simply won't figure out the command as it's something quite Souls specific. There are also a number of interesting additions on top of what Dark Souls have done, such as this interesting perfect timing mechanic, and also holding down the heavy attack can charge into a slower but more powerful blow, really adding an element of taking a hit to counter with more force. This is better demonstrated than waffled on about, so here's a live commentary explaining these points further, along with some other things I've stated previously. I'd also like to note that I'm playing at 1280 by 720p on medium graphics due to recording. Okay, welcome to a more hands-on approach of Lords of the Fallen. So this is where we're going to see the tutorial-esque style this game has chosen, which is quite interesting. You'll see it in action. Fighting Rogar, so I can walk up to him. First rule of focus combat. Let's right-click that to zoom in. Ah, great! Oh no, I'm being attacked. Now, you notice time is still moving, and you'll see that it carries on. Oh no. See, he actually stops. That's quite interesting. I wish I didn't find that out, because I like the idea that it was sort of testing me. on how fast I can react, but no. That saddens me slightly. And here we'll see the dialogue, how this game works. You'll notice that you couldn't choose who your character was at the start. You're automatically given this guy, so he actually has full voice acting, which is interesting. Okay, and here's where the main gameplay starts, where we can just walk around and... did I just fall? Anyway, and I'll show you how the combat works. My shield disappeared for a second then, that was weird. Oh, see? Straight away you see how light enemies will just attack out of nowhere. But he's dead, do not worry. Now actually, let's get in some light and I'll show you how the buttons work. So, anyone familiar with Dark Souls will remember right bumper to light attack, right trigger to heavy attack as seen in the tutorial, left bumper is the block, and left trigger, that's actually not a parry but a shield bash. Now, and again, if you saw in the tutorial, it is actually A to roll now, but I believe you can change the buttons in the options menu. I got heavy armor, so I roll slowly. That is the basics of what Dark Souls introduced, but they seem to have added more to this. If you watch my stamina now, there is a perfect timing system, if I can get it right. There it is. Where if I time my attacks, I actually conserve a bit of endurance while swinging. But it has to be perfect timing, and intense combat can be hard to do. And also, when you use your right trigger attack, instead of just a standard stab, you can extend it for a additional bit. If you saw in the stamina, you can use up a bit more for extra damage. Another system is that the longer I go without hitting a checkpoint, the more experience I'll earn. There are a sort of multiplier. And that really challenges you in the sense that you could rest or you can gain more experience. And enemies do not respawn when you rest at checkpoints, so sometimes the choice can be harder than you think. One complaint I'd say about this game is in Dark Souls, although it was a bit unrealistic, your character had a glow to him and an aura. I could see myself in Dark Souls standing on the staircase. It almost represented what you could sense. Whereas here, you don't have a natural glow, and you can see it's just hard to see in the dark. And it's not fun at times. I mean, even though Dark Souls was called Dark Souls, you were still never fully left in the dark. These enemies are very easy to beat. There are also these audio logs. Hello enemy, here's the thing, if I want to do a heavy attack, odds are I won't be able to get it off in time, so I can choose to let him hit me and get my attack off. And you see I made use of the perfect timing system in that combo as well. And that's where things start to differ from Dark Souls, really. Let's get this key. Now, around this corner should be a heavy enemy, which I can show off how the heavier enemies work. Now, you notice I got hit a few times by the lighter ones. The heavier enemies you'd think are the more dangerous ones, where, in fact, the way this game works, because of the way light attacks can surprise you and heavy attacks are counterable, you'll find that you just wish to find heavy enemies rather than the lighter ones. And that is not a good sign, really, when you're supposed to be scaling difficulty. I mean, it's very hard to get hit by the heavy ones, and it's very easy to backstab them, as you saw there. It's just not a good sign. And here's where you first see how bosses work. And even though it's the first boss, it's a perfect representation of how bosses work. And you'll see that they actually have segmented health. Now in this game, they put a special amount of care in making everything that hits you feel like it actually has impact. There's more crunching sound effects, and that's one thing to praise this game about. is the sound effects and music design is very interesting, but there are a few sound bugs that you can pick up on sometimes. But you have to be really listening for them sometimes, so it doesn't jar you out the experience. That was an interesting way for it to start the game, straight into combat. But it's kind of lost its effect when it didn't take any health. Although it would have been unfair, it was also unavoidable. I think if you could avoid it, and it took health if he didn't, would have been nice. Now if you notice, his health is segmented off. Here's where my complaints start coming in. Any enemy that is a shield twice the size of you, you're gonna have a bad time with. For some reason, they've made it so shields are just impassable walls of death. Now I'm about to break his first segment soon. There we go. He gained a state of invulnerability and he shed his armor. Now you'll actually notice he moves faster. And he becomes a bit more of a problem for me, especially that I'm a slow moving person with all my heavy armor. He's actually become easier. Actually, I seem to be doing a bit better. Let's see if I can show him off a bit more before I die. Ow. The problem is, if you notice, he keeps doing the same combos over and over. You'll notice that bosses just repeat the same thing. And it's not hidden very well that they're doing the same combo. They don't mix things up. So it turns into a matter of finding which combo is the easiest to simply counter, which seems to be his heavy attack. That move is the most annoying. When people shield enemies, they automatically take up your guard and the second attack will always hit. Yeah, I was for some reason lucky that time. And he's doing it over and over. See, the AI, I'd say, isn't the best in this. There we go. Now he goes into full crazy mode, drops his shield. That move cannot be blocked. As much as you think it should be able to, as it's just simply swinging his weapon like he has been before. When he goes into full pirouette. And as long as he just keeps doing the same moves over and over, I know he stops after 4 with that one. And 2, 3, and he's gonna hit me because he seemingly also has no stamina regeneration problems like I do. And he loves doing the same things over and over. Let's drink a potion just to be safe. Oh no, and here comes spinning death. I hate this move. So again, it's just a matter of backtracking. There we go, he's dead. That took me a few times the first time, but seemingly easy the second time. This happens after every boss fight by the looks of things. I've only gotten a few in at the moment, and you seem to just take a good brunt from killing them. But you get a bit of power. Fantabitacular. Character development. This is how the leveling works. If you see in the bottom, I can press whichever trigger I feel like leveling up. So say if I want my spell points up, once I get the tutorial out the way. Oh no. I can hold down left trigger and it'll put a point into that. To which I can then spend. Seemingly doesn't want me to. I can also put it into an attribute point, to which again, I'll put it into endurance. I like having a good amount of endurance. Now this is where sneaking, I've lost my tutorial. Always wanted to read that one, I lost it last time. He's also detected me. One thing you'll notice, actually, I haven't pointed this out yet. In Dark Souls, if I blocked his attack, it would do 0 damage. In this game, when you block with lighter armor, damage is still sustained through the shield. Which which it's interesting because it kind of adds no value to having light armor, and that's one thing about this game. It really discourages light armor. I should really heal up now. But yeah, it seems to discourage light armor to the point where movement is completely benign. Here we're going to bump into another problem with this game. After I kill some of these bugs. Which is direction. If I walk through this tunnel, it's very easy to... Let's kill him. And there's another person here who we can talk to, but let's ignore NPCs for now, because I'm trying to explain a bit of combat. You would never know to turn... I don't even know where it is. Is it here? There is a very slight turn-in round here. That is... Yep, there we go. Through this corridor, it is near impossible to see that you are meant to turn in here until it's pointed out. I had to walk down here many times, walking into the wall by accident, and found to go this way. And that was an iffy problem I had. Here we go. I'm about to pick something up a little later on, which is a big complaint of mine when you compare this to Dark Souls, and how the simplicity of Dark Souls trumps this game in this aspect. And I don't know if it's me, but you'll see in a minute. I'm about to pick up a very interesting item. Hello, item. It's nice to see you. Except it's not, because I hate you, item. Yet it's mandatory to pick up. You see, I can shoot this guy. Great.
If one wasn't enough.
Now, let me lead this enemy away and explain why I hate this thing. If I am fighting this light enemy and I feel I want full damage, you press Y to put your shield away. I'm now two-handing this weapon. It will do more damage, but I'll also take more damage. And in Dark Souls, this was the case. If I press Y again, it will pull out my shield. But now, it pulls out the magic weapon. I don't want the magic weapon. I want to swap alternating between the shield and good damage. It's an awesome way to fight when you quickly pull out two hands. You know, pull out the two-handed weapon, do additional damage, and quickly pull out the shield. But now it's a matter of, I want to do more. I want to drink right now because I don't want to die. Also, it takes a while to drink. Oh, see, he doesn't want me to heal. There we go. So say, I want to quickly do more damage. Just quickly swap. And then I quickly want to pull out my shield because there's someone attacking me. Nope. I have now got a lobster hand. I don't know if that's a minor complaint, but for me it was a big issue in combat because I personally liked switching out in Dark Souls. I loved being able to quickly alternate, and it was a big strategy for me. And that was kind of taken away with this magic edition. Now I know there should be a heavy enemy here. Hello, sir. Again, out of everyone, you think the heavy enemies would, because they're also more rare than the lighter ones. You'd think there'll be more trouble, but they're really not. Unless they stick to walls like that. Come on. It seems like they revamped all other characters to be suited to this game's style, where they made them faster and more sporadic, except for this guy. Now, here is... hang on, we've got to talk to this lady.
Where is it?
Where is what?
Back off. This doesn't concern you.
Ah, drop him. I chose the other one last time. Oh, great, she does it.
What's that about?
Let's leave.
Go.
Suit yourself.
Whatever, I'm not talking to you. I'm trying to show the lovely folks at home this game. So let's quickly stay here. So here you'll find the second boss. Now I have a major gripe about this boss, which you'll soon find out. At least the game sort of teaches you what you're going to be up against by giving you these two enemies. And you'll see why soon enough. Again, the lighter enemies are more dangerous than the heavy enemies. So get rid of these guys. They're the easiest to get rid of. Then these guys become easier. If you go after this guy first, you have... It causes problems. Yes, we just killed 2 basic enemies. Let's spit on them, because we're nice. We just told a woman to drop a cleric off a bridge or whatever. Now, this enemy is a standard, another big sword, big shield, but he acts slightly differently. A minor gripe is that I can say that characters, like, as far as I've seen, bosses always seem to be humanoid that are just bigger than you. He has a number of attacks. Now, one thing this game boasts is that each boss can be beaten differently. One of the later bosses, you're meant to make him charge into this certain building which stuns him. This guy, I have personally not figured out. But what that's caused me to do is find exploits. And a game shouldn't do that, really, and you'll see why. How I beat this boss is not fun. I actually haven't checked my equipment. Let's see if there's a... I should have this weapon. There we go. Lovely, he knocks me back. Now this is where we first bump into our summons. And one thing you'll notice about this boss and the next one at least is that it summons little things. And I think that's such a cheap way to extend a boss's life. And you'll see now how the little thing I found to beat this guy. Just get back, attack. Now here's the prayer system. You get given a prayer. The first one seems to be always a decoy which does something for you. He doesn't seem to be one to be distracted by it. There we go. Let's see if oh, ow. This isn't good. Ow. Okay, I died. Again, I'm actually kind of a bit underleveled to take on this boss. I've kind of rushed through the game. It actually took me a lot longer before I reached this guy before. But again, let's show off. Let's see if I can show off how I did this. Again, okay, here's another problem, is that when he strikes, his shield recovery, he seems to automatically put it back up, and it kind of adds a bit of confusion on which attack you're meant to counterattack. See, let's see if I can count. No, his shield's back up, and this is one of the faster weapons too. They took away a lot of the speed of attacks just to add a bit of weight behind them. The problem is it adds weight behind them. You know, W-A-I-T. There we go. Also, when you lose your souls, if you notice I died and these are my experience, I actually heal slightly, standing near it, although he's going to try to shoot me. Now, when he summons, where is he? There he is, this little fella. Now again, it says something when the first enemy is the heavy one, and what's supposed to be the later phase where it's harder, he summons lighter ones. It ties into the whole thing where, for some reason, heavy enemies are easier? It's just such a ass-backwards thing. I don't know if it's me. I don't know if I'm just preaching to an empty choir here. Oh, hello, you want to do a second attack now? And again, there's no chance of counterattacks. Who am I kidding trying to attack? And not just try not to exploit. Come on, let's just exploit this one move, and he'll keep doing it. Unless he, And this is what boss battles boil down to. It actually starts boiling down to frustration and patience. I just want him to do the one attack because that's the only one that's seemingly counter-attackable. And I'm actually going to look this up now. I really want to look up the commander and see if there is the actual way to beat him. Because again, this game is supposedly... It supposedly wants to encourage you to use these unique ways to beat them, but it seems to be so specific. Hey guys, so I looked up how to do this boss, trying to find the supposed fun way of doing it, and to my surprise, there was none. Through generous consensus of the guides I found so far, I was actually doing things right, which isn't a good thing considering how much I wasn't enjoying it. And comparing this to what they're trying to compete with, which is Dark Souls, in which I had plenty of fun with doing the many varieties of bosses, that's not a good thing. That, I don't know, I actually found exploits before doing it, and I did it with nearly every boss now. And again, you see how long this boss battle's been. It's been prolonged not with skillful gameplay, but patience and frustration. The recurring theme of this game, it seems like, and that saddens me. And now we play the waiting game for the one attack which seems to be counter-attackable. This one. Oh no, that was unlucky. And now I have to wait the millennia it takes. He'll keep doing it as well. And I don't mind him doing it. If he doesn't, I'll probably lose this fight every time, because he doesn't seem to pick up on his one and only counter-attackable move. Again, this is meant to be the final stage. It's the same thing. The first boss had a bit of change, but... that's all I can say. I mean, there's certain games which get away with bad boss battles when it has a good story, but you've seen the story so far. Nothing is given. And that's another problem with this game, is that you can't create a character, so your character is this already developed person, but you do not know who he is, and nor do I care, really. I just want to beat him. There we go. That was not fun. I mean, this could be a one-off, but the next boss battle is similar. You're against a humanoid, very hard to kill, but very time-consuming if you know how to do it. Okay, a bit further on, you're going to see one of the most frustrating enemies in the game, and I don't know, if there is a way to beat it easier, I would love to know. I know I shouldn't be asking that in a review, but you'll see why. Okay, there's an enemy right there. You want to come over here? Come here, buddy. Hello. So much. The one time I want to be spotted. Okay, come over here. These enemies are the most frustrating enemies I've found so far. They've got big shields which block your attacks, which is a given. They're the big shield enemy. So you think, okay, they're probably slow. As you can tell by their attacks, they're actually rather fast. And they have that, whatever that is. I'm doing 1 damage so far. Okay, here's where my gripe with the armor comes in play. Because heavy armor, you move slower, so you're meant to take the hits and then dish back the damage. You'd think then light armor, you're meant to be nimble and be able to get round him. Let's prove that wrong. I am light as hell now. So you think, once he faces me again, because as after attack that doesn't count, I should be able to get around him, but no, their tracking seems to just always seem to follow you. And with these shield enemies, again, here we go, let's try the kick. Nothing. In Dark Souls you're trained that if someone's got his shield up, you can always get through it, but it'll be a risk. I can kick. With my stubby leg, which... That's one of my issues with this game. I don't know if I brought it up yet, but you have a Space Marine build of your character. And if you want to kick, it's very short range. Let's see if I can represent it again. It's a very short range. Okay, I need to get my armor on though, because I'm going to die. But again, look, there is actually nothing to do while he's got his shield up. Like, I can't kick him out of it, so I simply have to sit here and wait. And there we go. You think, when his sword deflects off my thing, I counterattack. I need to drink right now. I need to counterattack, don't I? When he attacks me. And no, he just blocks it. Come on. I like to expand on this point as I didn't eloquently put across what I was feeling at the time. But the best way to describe it is, in Dark Souls, you can take a risk to gain combat advantage. There was always an opportunity to change things in your favour and set things at your own pace, at your own risk. In this game, it seems to be always their pace, and you have to adjust to each enemy and their pace that they set, which can create a sense of frustration as it did with me. And see, it just turns into a game of waiting. In Dark Souls, I could be ready, I could kick a shield away. Maybe if I try shield bash it, no. There is nothing breaking his shield. I cannot get behind him due to speed. I mean, maybe if I roll through it? And actually, fine, I lose most of my health because of these guys. I know I've done it a bit on purpose now, but when I'm genuinely trying to fight them, there's no way around this. You'll spend a lot of your time doing this, spinning around them, waiting for them to attack, so you're already preemptively moving behind them. Wow, see, the shield's already back up. I actually might die, there we go. I don't know, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to start off my reviewing scene as me looking incompetent, but to me that seems like an issue with the game. Another thing I like to talk about while wandering around is the scenery is very samey. I know it's meant to be a very similar looking castle, but the thing about these castles in real life, I've been to a few. I mean, when you live in the UK, there's loads. I live next to a castle, and it's a very common thing. You find that they look different because different parts are built in different eras. Say, the castle near me has got part of it was built in Victorian era, part of it was built in Tudor. Everything here looks like it was somehow built overnight. It sounds like a petty visual complaint, but think of it like this. As a game designer, you could have a really awesome looking castle that changes in different parts. I could be in a very olden side, the old side of the castle, but no, I seem to be in the same looking part as everywhere else. And this is an example of them just hiding enemies for trolling. This guy. They seem to, when I say that sometimes enemies will attack you on sight, there's usually an element of because they're out of sight. Now we're going to bump into another enemy which I despise, and you'll soon see why. I despise these enemies, and I better kill him or it's going to kill me. This is what the game eventually turns into. By now you've seen the fairly different archetypes, and you'll notice that each one, you actually start learning how to kill them. And you start just memorizing their attack patterns and how to react to it. Rather than reacting to the situation, you just bait out what you prefer. It turns into a dance, and they are the leading foot. You are the woman in this dance. He is currently leading this dance, and I gotta follow his steps and react to them. If I tread on his feet, I get hurt. So with these enemies, you just gotta single attacks. You try combo against these, I'll try show you. If I try to get 2 hits against these, you get that to your face. So we wait, and we wait. And we counter. Hey guys, I decided to tack this on as well after recording the previous bit because I remembered how terrible. When I say that I ended up finding the cheapest way to do these bosses, I mean it. Welcome to how I found to beat him. So you'll see he does this attack which stuns you. Now when he stuns you, look, if he stuns you from the front, I cannot block and he will hit me. Ow, that is punishment for my incompetence. If I go behind him, he just won't hit me. So what I found is that I can get one cheap attack in, because it doesn't do any damage. One cheap attack in before he carries on. And I just keep doing this. As you can tell, I wasn't really having fun. I really wanted to like this game. The idea of a Souls-like game to me is a trend I'd love to see in an industry where dusty first-person shooters dominate the market. But sadly, this game, in trying to stray away from being a full copy of Dark Souls, lost a sense of what made Dark Souls fun. I will always say if someone tries telling you Dark Souls is hard, they are wrong. A game being hard would be one of those impossible games where frequent failure is from unfair death and unpredictable challenge. Whereas I'd always say Dark Souls is a challenging game. Every mistake is your own, and you can take combat into your hands by being the attacker or defender, each having their own risks. Also, with the range of combat such as magic and archery, there was no set way to beat a boss or enemy. But with Lords of the Fallen, the difficulty isn't an organic sense of challenge like Dark Souls, but a game of patience which turns boring pretty fast. And the lack of combat styles, magic only playing a role of sidearm, never really let you be the attacker and simply left you waiting for the chance to attack, punishing you for your impatience on their time, rather than your impatience of provocation. Again, I can't stress this enough, but I really wanted to like this game. Sadly, I don't see myself carrying on. But that's not to say you shouldn't give this a go, so let's go to the final ratings. If you want to challenge yourself to what looks like an interesting story, albeit told rather poorly at the start, again, I can't give comment about how it is later, and some interesting combat that has some hefty challenge to it, then by all means, buy this game. If the story complaint aspects of what I said puts you off, but you're after a challenge to kill time, then I'd say buy this on sale. It's not worth the full release price for something you may not play for too long. But really, if the complaints I brought up bother you, like they do with me, then I'd say buy this in a bundle. It takes a special kind of game to stay high priced with no multiplayer for too long, so I can't imagine this game staying high priced. So you can wait for it to show up on a 2 for 20 or whatever offer you like to get at your local store. Or for PC, you can wait for it to show up on a charity bundle of sorts. Anyway, I hope you found this review informational on whether you want this game or not, and let me know what you think of this game if you have it, or if you haven't got it, how does it look to you? Does it interest you? Anyway, thanks for watching and goodbye.